Hey, everybody, and welcome back to San Diego Gunpla Podcast, where today we have a very special guest. We have the Crow Sama himself, Dennis the Man. So, thank you so much, Dennis, for joining me and Walter today. How you doing today?
Doing great, man. Just hanging out. Really beautiful Sunday afternoon. So, can't wait to go ahead and talk about some good Gundam topics.
Ooh, okay. Well, I hope you're really, really happy about this week's Gundam topic. We're going to be talking about age. So, if people don't really know, you can hop onto Crow Sama's channel on YouTube. This guy right here, he's got 18,000 subscribers, so he doesn't really need any shout outs from us. But come on, man, we can, the more love that we can give you, the better. And, his channel is pretty much the number one spot on the internet, hands down, bar none, for Gundam Age products, news, reviews, and everything else. And I know I just stole that from Robert 184, but it's okay. You can start using this.
Yeah.
Um, but
He
yeah,
has
you've
he
got
hasn't used that for a long time, from what I remember.
yeah, he has not. Bless his soul. He's like half the reason why most of us are even doing Gundam YouTubes in the first place. I remember his
Yeah.
10-minute videos were fantastic. But Dennis, you have tons of Gundam Age stuff. You are reviewing a bunch of different products, and then you were just mentioning that you're also doing some sort of stuff on Discord as well, right?
Mhm. Correct. So basically, we're doing like a watch party of Gundam Age. So every Sunday in Japan time, and I think Saturday night over in the US, we do air one episode of Gundam Age. So it's kind of like how back in the old days before we had binge watching. We're watching one new episode a week. Even though Gundam Age isn't necessarily new, but a lot of people in the Discord or just people in the Gundam community in general have not watched Gundam Age. So we're just trying to give people a very authentic experience. And in 49 episodes, we'll easily clear every single one weekly before the end of the year.
That sounds fantastic. So for people who don't know what Gundam Age is, it is a Gundam show that
Mm.
came out in 2011 with a runtime from October 2011 to September 2012. And it was notorious for being made in collaboration with a video game company called Level 5. And for a lot of people who don't know what Level 5 is, they're the people who brought you things like Yokai Watch and things like Nina Kuni. So think like that Ghibli kind of art style, but with the hardcore, fast-paced action of Gundam. To
Mhm.
me, it's a blending of two amazing worlds, and I think we're kind of going to go into this topic of while we both think that Gundam Age is really awesome, unfortunately, the rest of the fandom doesn't quite agree with us. So, what are your
Yeah.
thoughts on that, Dennis?
Yeah. So like we talked about before, essentially coming from 2007 with Double O, a very serious anime, a lot of very strong themes and elements to the anime. Then you go over to Gundam Unicorn, which I think the OVA started in 2000, was it 2009, 2010.
Yeah, that's right.
But Unicorn started, and yeah, those OVAs were fantastic, beautiful animation. And in between there, you have like Gunpla Builders, which was like a one-off OVA. But going into Gundam Age from all that in the past, I think it was just a little bit jarring for the current audience at that time. They probably just really wanted something more serious. And of course, I remember at that time they're like, "Where's Crossbone Gundam?" People were just like hammering, "We want this anime," and of course, Bandai did not give it to them. So I think it's just people not liking the anime because it wasn't what they wanted, and also because of the key animation. But I think the designs are overall well loved because it's the same mechanical designer as the guy from Double O, who's also done a lot of stuff with like Gundam Bill Fighters.
Yeah, he has a really unique futuristic type of style that when animated it looks really amazing because you have that hyper glossy, really realistic kind of look, but then because the designs are so simple, it's very easy to animate them in dynamic poses or to stretch them out during in between frames. So for people who don't really know what that kind of means, if you look at Obari style, when you have certain action scenes where you have elongations of legs or
Mhm.
arms in order to showcase dynamic angles and action poses. you need these sections of in between frames in order to effectively showcase it. Because if you're sticking with the standard model of how the Gundam is supposed to look or how the character is supposed to look, it will look too stiff, and it won't
Mhm.
really show the audience how cool the designs actually are. And that was always really troubling to me because, like what you were saying, Dennis, Gundam 00 was a hit, and the mobile suits are also a hit. And with the same mechanical designer from 00 bleeding onto Age, you would think it would be kind of a no-brainer that people would also like
Mhm.
the stuff from Age. But I guess I'm also kind of technically wrong because the Gundam Age model kits, in my mind, did pretty well. The Gundam Age 1 normal is actually probably one of the most recommended master grades and high grade kits, and even you have a particular affinity to this kit. Am I right?
Mhm. Yeah, I think they did very well in terms of merch sales. I don't know the numbers. I don't even know where to pull those sales numbers. I want to say in the beginning, like in the arc one of age one, like at first maybe like 4 months of age, I think the merch did extremely well. But once they started getting into the late arc two and arc three, arc four, I'm pretty sure sales just completely dropped. And I think around that time is when they canceled Gundam Age, so they had to shorten the overall runtime. I think they were planning like 54 or 53 episodes, and they busted down to 49. But I think merch sales overall did very well, and that's probably because the Age One Normal is a very well designed suit. It's a good homage to the Granddaddy, the RX-78-2, but it's also keeping like a very slim and sleek race car pretty much design, which I know people make fun of the spoiler, but the spoiler makes sense because it's connected to the age system, which um, basically receives different information, and then that goes into the age OS. So the spoiler makes sense. Sure, it could have been something else completely. They could have just made like one antenna. But if you look at a lot of the previous production designs and prototype artwork, it didn't look that great without the spoiler, and the way the spoiler was designed kind of looked a little weird. So I think the final product, I mean, it's to me, it's perfection.
Yeah, to me, I really like the idea of the age system because realistically, it was a show that promoted 3D printing. If you really think about it,
Mhm.
the Gundam Age system is a giant 3D printer, and for anyone who looks to Gundam as a source of technological inspiration, I cannot. I mean, I feel like Gundam Age helped to spawn some sort of influence in the boom of 3D printing right now. Not to say there's a direct influence, but I'm sure a lot of people probably saw Gundam Age and thought, "Hey, that's a cool idea," and then saw 3D printing, and you're like, "You know what? I'm gonna throw a couple $1,000s at this. I'll give it a shot because I saw it on TV
Yeah.
and it looked pretty cool." Um, but yeah, the model kits I
Mhm.
thought were super fantastic because the suits that we got before them, or the model kits we got before them, were the Double O line. And Double O line, though they were really fantastic suits, they never really had that 360-degree movement with their thigh swivels and with the arms. But Gundam Age had that, but then on top of that, they had the interchangeableness of it. So like if you got an Exia kit and you got an Arios kit, the arms wouldn't always match up with each other. But for Gundam Age, at least if you're dealing with all the Gundams, everything was literally interchangeable with one another. And I thought that was super
Yeah.
cool. And they also looked really good. They were like almost
Mhm.
canonical almost. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, I always really liked the Gundam Age merchandise. Though we can say a couple of things about like the Denizine. I know that that one's a kind of unusual kit, and I
Yeah.
thought it was interesting.
Yeah,
um,
the vegan suits are, I would say, the most lackluster of the entire age model kit line. But that's because they just went with a really bad choice with the ball jointed hips. Um, Still, I would say most of them have double jointed elbows, so
mm,
that's really good. I think they have double jointed knees, but it's really just the ball jointed hips kind of restrict a lot of the movement. But everything else is fairly solid. I think most of the vegan kits really have a minimum amount of stickers that's required. I think the only one that's like Legolas probably has like a lot of stickers. I think the Bakto has like a lot of the chest stickers and the head sticker.
Beam
But
cannon
for the
thing.
most part, I mean, what's that?
Oh, for the beam cannon, I think on the Bakto, I thought like it kind of
Yeah.
has like that little like sundial flower design. I think all of those are
Mhm.
basically stickers.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't like stickers, but I still appreciate how minimum they use for the age kits in comparison to the double O kits because those were really bad. Like Exia just looks horrible if you only apply stickers, and it's just like at
Yeah.
least with age one normal, I've shown like, hey, a lot of the parts are separated enough to where you can just paint it with a Gundam marker. Like the H chest is white, but it's connected to the chest fins. But when you put the front piece on there, it separates the parts. So you can easily just paint the age symbol from yellow to green. And when you put that part on there, I mean, you're good.
Yeah.
And the eyes are raised, so you can just paint the eyes green, and it's already a great part. So you don't need to paint black. You can just leave it gray, and it looks great.
Yeah, they're fantastic looking kits. And
Mhm.
so for all those people who are watching this nice candid conversation, actually isn't terribly candid because we've written out some questions, and so we're gonna go a little
Yeah.
out of order. Um, so since we're talking about the model kits, I actually kind of want to ask, do you think that with the introduction of the build series, do you think that the reception of Age has actually gotten better or worse? Because I know a lot of people who are just like, dang, I really like the H2 double bullet, and then bam, the Magnum came out. And then we
Mhm.
have stuff like, the Tri-Age that was
Yeah.
released as a P Bandai and then, was a somewhat obscure design, but it got printed in model kit form. So do you think that maybe people have a better reception towards Age, or do you think just the designs or a combination of the two?
I don't think divers or build fighters did anything for the anime. I'm pretty sure the Gundam anime is just in the backs of everyone's minds. They don't really care too much about it. It doesn't help that it's one of those like harder. Well, actually, no, they just came out with the Blu-rays, so it's
Mm,
actually pretty easy to obtain. But it's not on Gundam Info, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's one of the series they just don't want to
no.
put on the YouTube channel. But I think with the Gundam build divers, especially with the Magnum, that probably made a lot more people interested about Gundam Age. And when they seen that, they're like, "Oh, the Age 2 normal and the Age 2 double bullet looks great," and this is what it's basically based on. And then they
Right.
saw like the funnel parts on the Magnum. They're like, "Wait, so the Age FX has funnels? That's pretty cool." Oh, the Age FX Burst has funnels and it has these really cool effect parts. So I think it probably was like a little rabbit hole to get into Gundam Age, as a series. But I can't imagine people getting from Build Divers and then getting into the anime of Gundam Age.
Okay. Yeah, I've always been a little undecided on that because there have been a ton of people who have never seen Age, who've never seen
Mm.
Gundam. They'll look at the Magnum and be like, "This is a great color scheme. I like
Yeah,
the articulation. This is fantastic." And then we usually don't really push the conversation past that for some
yeah,
reason. I don't normally say, "Well, hey, you want to check out other suits?" And they're all from the Gundam Age line, and they'll
mhm,
usually buy the model kits, but then it's very, very, very hard to find just general content. Even though the Blu-rays had just come out, like you were saying, I think most people who start with the model kits first, they usually just hop onto YouTube and try to look up stuff. And I have
mhm,
the hardest time just finding Gundam scenes from Age.
yeah,
I remember like my one of my favorite scenes was when Asumu gets the double bullet and he fights the magicians. I think it's like the magicians
mhm,
eight, and then he does that little twist and like cuts both of them in half. I was like, man, that's such a cool scene. And
mhm.
all of a sudden it was gone. And like I don't see it anymore. You don't see any other scenes getting copyrighted or taken down, but for some reason the Gundam Age ones are just like constantly rotating. Um, do you have any favorite moments of Gundam Age that really stuck out to you?
I mean, recently I reviewed the HD and AG Spallo. I really just love the entire final Spallo battle. I forgot the kid's name, but he fights the kid, and
Uh,
it's just a really cool battle where he's flexing every single thing that the Spallo can do when it comes to the leg needles. He does the arm thrusters, which in my video I called it like arm energy beams, because I thought he was slicing with the arms. But I also noticed in another scene in that episode, he used his arm as a thruster to propel
mhm,
himself towards the enemy. So I just thought it acts as both. But yeah,
mm,
the thrusters on the arm is really cool. The Shiguru blade is fantastic, and a lot of the weaponry the Spallo has, like I think it's just so simplistic, but it's like it's a ninja's way. Like a ninja's not going to have all these crazy heavy things on it. It's just going to really have like very small projectiles. That's not really for killing, but distracting or for doing some kind of small damage. And then having the mobility. I think it's just really cool. So the Spallo battle definitely against the Zetas is my favorite.
yeah, I really like that one, and I think his name was Dessel
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Dessel Gillette, right?
Mhm.
I think for me too, it was the scene where the Legolas and the Age FX fight, and
Yeah.
you had that that background music playing, and then the Legolas releases all of its bits, and then
Mhm.
it creates like this sphere around him, and then Kyo does the same thing with the sphere of like the what are they called? Are they?
The
I
sea
don't remember.
funnels.
Sea funnels. Yeah, there you go. And then they start clashing with each other.
Mhm.
And as they fly out into space, all you just see is like lines, like yellow and like
Yeah.
green lines that kind of like swirl across space. And I thought that was like a beautifully animated scene. And it's little things
Mhm.
like that where I'm like, I wish people would just pay attention to Age more because there's some beautifully animated stuff that's in there that looks amazing and super cool. Um, but yeah, like that and the one scene where Asumu fights uh the Zetises or the Dorados that come in to the colony, and he's just
Oh,
going
the first battle in Arc
the
Two.
first battle of like season
Mhm.
two. I know this is kind of spoilers
Yeah.
for some other people. So Megumi, giant spoiler tag
Mhm.
everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that those are such phenomenally like animated scenes that you can kind of sometimes see on YouTube. I feel like
Mhm.
if you're a Gundam fan, you have to see these. They're just
Yeah.
amazing to watch. Um,
So I
but
have a
yeah,
question. I have a question.
sure.
Going into that, preface, I have only watched the first arc of Age, and I stopped. So this is my question to Crow. What would be the reason I should get back into it after you guys have talked about all this stuff?
What's the reason you should get back into it?
Yeah, what's the reason I should pick it back up and put it on my list of I need to watch it now thing?
Uh, I mean, for the simple fact that it's Gundam. I've watched a lot of Gundam animes that I absolutely hated. I truly dislike Double Zeta. I know a lot of people love it.
Hmm.
So I usually just like leave it at that. It's like, look, man, I can't get into Double Zeta. Most of the designs aren't my thing. So I think just as a Gundam connoisseur, there's really not that many series. Like I know it's a span of 40 years, but
Hmm.
there's really not that many shows in like comparison to like Kamen Rider or like Doctor Who. Like those have a lot of episodes, a lot of different series and seasons. So I think with Gundam, you could try at least get into the first two arcs. Admittedly, the last third arc is the weakest of the Gundam Age series. Then it picks back up in the fourth arc. But I would say the reason to get into it, the ultimate reason, the designs look great. It has some pretty dark themes. As soon as you get into the first episode, like this ain't even a spoiler. This is like as soon as the episode starts, not Kyo, Flit's mom just dies. Like she just gets murked in a fire. So I think with these dark themes, it's really cool. Not to say you need dark themes in Gundam, but a lot of people say, "Oh, it's a childish series." And it's like, if you consider your mom just dying in a fire right in front of your eyes, like sure, childish, I guess. um, but it's most of the designs, man, and the merch I think is like really awesome. The high grades and the master grades.
Okay. I think I'll start watching
Yeah,
it again.
I think for me, Gundam Age does the one thing that all other Gundam shows don't do, and it's showing the consequences of war through generations. And I
Yeah.
think that because of that, just that one aspect, I think it puts into better perspective what the general message of Gundam is supposed to be. Because a lot of the time when we watch Gundam shows, all we do is we see someone like Amuro who is childless, allegedly,
Mhm.
right? If we're not considering like Belter Chica's children and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're not.
And then we hop
counting
over
any of
to a
that.
new main character that is completely unassociated from Amuro, but he's being affected by it in a completely different way. Most of these characters' parents are either like turned into vegetables or killed off, and so we don't get a proper relationship of how war affects family. And I think that Gundam Age truly explores this through the generations. And if you look at through that lens, I think Gundam Age has a lot to offer. I think the second thing that Gundam Age does really well is the progression of technology. So
Mhm.
in like so if you look at the okay, big old spoiler tag warning. So if you look at the Gundam Age, right, it gets mass produced. But then this mass production is actually used pretty far along the lines through season 2, 3, and 4. We see it's the
Mhm.
Adele. We see the Adele continually being used up into season 4, and this is like when Flit's like 15 years old. By like season 4, he's got to be like 50 or something like that,
Yeah.
right? But the technology
Yeah, he's
really
pushing around 60.
40 years doesn't really change that much, and that's very indicative of how mass produced technology actually applies in the real world. You don't see dramatic changes or new prototypes being cranked out like every 6 months like you see in Zeta Gundam, or like
Mhm.
even like Iron Blood Orphans, where you're just like, oh yeah, we have a brand new model, but it's only been a week later. It's like, wait, no,
Yeah.
technology doesn't work that way. That's completely unrealistic. But in
Mhm.
Gundam Age, like a lot of people say, like, oh, it's just a cop out for them to repeat designs. But it's like, no, that's actually how the industry works. And
Mhm.
this is setting a more realistic idea of how people should interpret the real world.
Yeah.
But
'Cause
but
even
anyway,
in the real world, I mean, we don't just like abandon things every 6 months. Like, in my actual like region, yeah, we still use a lot of the old equipment. We still use airtronic burners, which has been around for I think almost like 2 decades. It's like maybe around 14, 15 years. So it's like using equipment that's been around since before I even joined the military. It's not unknown. It's not like an anomaly. So in Gundam Age, that's why I really love is like it takes them a while to really get a completely new design out there that's far more superior than its predecessor.
yeah, and I think that's something that a lot of people overlook. So I'm really glad that we're able to talk about this a lot, because I think that really will put things into perspective for a lot of people who are thinking about maybe joining the military or going into industry, and they're like, hey man, how come we're not getting a new prototype like every 3 months? And you're like, what are you talking about, dude? Like,
Yeah.
that's how things work. But
Mhm.
cool. So I guess along the lines of something that you were mentioning before, that people were just kind of clamoring over Crossbone. There are huge, huge themes in Gundam Age that are actually directly inspired from Crossbone Gundam, and I think
Mhm.
it's kind of appropriate to talk about because Bandai's been really hitting the Crossbone uh, series pretty hard with all these P Bandai announcements as of late. And I think for a lot of people who think the Crossbone series is really cool and are demanding some sort of animation, they really don't have to look too far than Gundam Age.
Mhm.
What do you think about these thematic comparisons and the relationship between these two series?
I mean, admittedly, I've never read Crossbone a day in my
Okay.
life. The most I know is like C book. He's carried from F91 into the Crossbone series because I think he runs the Vanguard, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you're right.
So yeah, so I guess like if I'm looking at F91, um, I see a lot of just like dramatic themes, especially when it comes to like different clans like clashing. They have that in Gundam Age quite a bit. Uh, I mean, the overall designs are definitely like heavily inspired when it comes to Captain Ash's crew. Because I mean, his whole crew is a pirate, organization. So definitely looks like a Crossbone type of organization up in there. But you had to fill me in a little more on like what themes are in particular carried over from Crossbone to Age.
Oh, sure. Okay, so this is gonna be kind of a big spiel then. And again, Magooby, sorry, giant spoilers for like everything. So the whole concept of Gundam Crossbone is that there are colonies out in Jupiter, and these colonies out in Jupiter, there's an exchange kind of program, and so there's this little kid named Tobiah that actually kind of is trying to be a part of this cultural exchange program, but then finds out that there's this huge hatred towards the Earth. So because we're talking about Gundam Age, if you look at the story of the Vegans and how they feel like they've been abandoned and they feel like they've been left out to essentially die in the harsh conditions of Mars, right? I can't remember. Mars. This is exactly the same kind of sentiment that is felt by the Dogadi family in Crossbone. The Ezelcan archetype is actually a mirror of the Dogadis. And the only difference really, and it kind of works the same way. So, they have, children who they want to have better lives and they somehow interact with the main character. The main character kind of gets impacted by that. The only difference is that Crossbone's a little bit of a darker kind of twist where the Ezelcan type of character ends up being like super, super evil and wants to destroy the Earth, where I guess Ezelcan also kind of wants to do the same thing, except kind of in a little bit of a nicer kind of way. Yeah. But so one of the big things of Crossbone was that the Crossbone Vanguard that was mainly headed by Cicely Fairchild and Seabuck, they would try to intentionally not kill the people that were coming from the Jupiter Empire and send them back. But when they went back to the Jupiter Empire, they found out that all of these people were just getting murdered anyway, because water, air, and resources were just so difficult to come by that if you couldn't fulfill your duty, you were just killed immediately. And those same harsh conditions maybe are not really animated in Gundam Age because we're trying to keep things, at least, PG. They are still shown through the hardships that the Vegan people have to endure when they're shown on their planet that Kyo actually has to go to. And so then you kind of have this whole, Captain Ash intermediary between the Vegans and the people of Earth. And that's where you kind of get that Crossbone-like inspiration. So the Crossbone Vanguard is really, they're kind of masking themselves as a deterrent between Earth and was it? I'm getting my stuff mixed up. And the Jupiter Empire, while Captain Ash is working as a kind of a deterrent between the Federation and the Vegans. So so there's lots of similarities, and that bleeds over from the first Crossbone manga into Steel 7, where not the Vegans, where the Jupiter Empire decides to come towards Earth to basically take it over because they're fed up. They're just like, yo man, we're tired of living in outer space and dying. We want a home. And that's essentially like was it the
Heart
Memories of Eden and the Zahart. So there's tons of parallels between that. So honestly, I feel like Bandai and Sunrise actually did give us Crossbone. It's just they didn't give us the Crossbone that we necessarily wanted. So
that's actually great. I didn't realize like they had so many comparisons directly to Crossbone. It kind of makes me want to read Crossbone now.
Yeah, and you know what the funny thing is, Crossbone looks childish. It truly does. It looks like Astro Boy. Like I always say, like this is just a combination between Astro Boy and Gundam. And the funny thing is, people love Crossbone so much, but then when you look at the source material, you're like, oh, I don't really like it. But that's exactly the same type of like hypocrisy that we're kind of talking about. That Age is exactly the same thing. It's a childish looking character design with really cool mechs, arguably. It's the same thing as Crossbone. So it's kind of baffling why Crossbone's so successful, but Age is not. But
yeah,
but yeah, you should definitely check.
I think. Yeah, I'm gonna have to read it because I've just never had the interest of reading a Gundam manga. I always thought like sometimes it's a struggle to watch a Gundam show. Namely, Double Zeta was a little bit tough for me. Gundam X was, back in the day, kind of like and then just rewatching a couple older ones like Seed. I can't get into it anymore. So I always figure like the manga is usually weaker than the anime. So I have to reread or actually read the Crossbone ones.
I mean, that's what the Gundam Wiki's for, right? But Walter's jumping out of his seat right now because you said that you don't like Seed, and I'm personally a fan of Seed. Walter hates Seed.
Another brother to the great cause against Kira Yamato. we lost one. We lost one yesterday. We gained one today.
Oh, so someone decided they really like Seed.
Well, he jumped ship because of a pink mobile suit.
So we do this thing where we take a look at all the releases that have come out over the last week or so, and we do like a round table where we say the basic information, give our impressions, and we give a rating. So our brother in arms actually gave his highest rating to the Strike Rouge, and Walter was furious.
The real grade?
The real grade, yeah. With the Grand Slam reissue P Bandai, and I didn't understand it because even as a fan of Gundam Seed, I don't like that kit. I don't like a kit at all.
I mean, if it was like the master grade, I guess sure, because I know the remake, what's it called, like version RM or something like that.
Yeah,
that's actually like a really really good master grade.
Yeah,
I've never heard. Yeah, like I never heard great things about the RG for people to get that hyped about it.
No. I think it just kind of happened that way. I don't think he knew what he was doing. Sorry.
He destroyed everything that our brotherhood stand for.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal. You're more than welcome to jump on to those as well. They're more of like speculative kind of stuff, and it's really interesting to see everybody's tastes and opinions. Usually what we'll do for people who don't know, who's watching this video right now, we'll have two types of ratings. Of an objective rating, do we think this is a great kit, a great design? And then we have a rating of whether or not we would actually, as a person, buy this kit. So that way you have an objective score and you have a subjective score for people. But yeah, so that's Walter's happy. That's all we care about. Walter's happy now. But Dennis, you were saying that you're having a really hard time sometimes engaging in Gundam TV shows, and sometimes I would say that's fairly true for me as well. Like it's taken me a really long time to watch Turn A, and I think it's just because I know all the memes, and it's I know the cows, I know the Moonlight Butterfly, and I feel like that's basically Gundam 8 or not Gundam Age, but that's basically Turn A. And then Victory Gundam was always really hard for me to get into, but I always found that the video games were oftentimes really easy for me to engage in. Are there Gundam Age video game adaptions that you really like? Because I know that there was one that came to the PSP a long time ago that I actually adored.
So I played them. Well, they came out in 2012, right?
I think so.
There's two of them. There's like Universal Booster, I think it's called, and then like Excel something. I forgot what they're called. They're made by Level 5.
Yeah.
And if you're a game made by Level 5, like it's all the same. Like I always felt like the games of level 5 just really or copy and paste in a way, just with different different skins. But if you play Gundam, if you played any of the Gundam Age games on PSP, they're a lot like the LBX games on Vita, PSP, and 3DS, which isn't like a bad thing. It's just they're all chibi-fied. So if you like the chibi versions of Gundams, kind of like the G
Besties.
generations stuff,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah. So if you like that type of chibi, that game's gonna be really fun for you. But it doesn't have the crazy action cutscenes like G Generation has.
Right.
I would say look it up on YouTube. I enjoyed what I played for a little bit back in 2012, but for the most part, I don't think they're great games. It's really cool if you want to do some like, kit bashing because I know one of them has Gundams from like all over, so you can get like Double O Quant in your game. You can get like Exia, or you can get the RX-78-2 in your game, and I think you can like combine it with the different limbs from other Gundams to make your own. It was actually like probably one of the. I think it might have been like the first type of
Suits.
Gundam Breaker. Yeah, so
Or
it was pretty
suits.
cool, like for what it was. But I don't recommend it. Just play LBX.
Yeah, all right. That's pretty fair. I have to agree with you too. Like when I played the games, it was pretty fun, but then afterwards I was just like, I think I'm just gonna download one of these save files and see
Yeah.
what the end credits are kind of like. But I think for people who may not know this, these game cartridges actually had some animated scenes in them with,
Yes.
different versions of like the Age one. I think it was shoot,
Me
I don't
too.
even remember. Was it the Razor? I think they had a
Yeah. So,
animated scene of the Razor in there.
yes. So Flint, he's an older Flint. I think he's probably around like 18, maybe early 20s.
Yeah.
But he sorties in the Age One Razor like straight out of the Diva, which is really cool. Because some people were arguing with me like they were like I forgot what Gundam group I was arguing in, but they were like the Gundam Age One Normal never sorties in any armaments. It only sorties in Age One Normal. I was like, no. I was like, there's plenty of evidence throughout the series and in the side animations that it sorties in all these other armaments. So if it sees a battle that is going to be more melee focus, Flint would just be like, hey, put me in the Razor, put me in the Spalo, and then
Mm.
shoot me out there. So I think it's really cool. I think the Artemis is the H2 Artemis. I think that one's in there as well.
Yeah, I really like the Artemis equipment too. I thought that the
Mhm.
Artemis was super awesome. Like, especially if you combine that with like, double bullet stuff. I was like, oh
Yeah.
man, this is like whew, beautiful
Mhm.
stuff. But yeah, other than those two games, I really don't know of too many other video game adaptations. If you want to count Gundam Breaker, or if you want to count GBGW, GBGW has actually been giving it kind of some love. You can tell they
Mhm.
also don't like Gundam Age that much.
Um, well, so when I went to an event for the Gundam Battle Gunpla Warfare game, um,
Yeah,
I was talking to one of the Sunrise guys. I forgot their name, but they work for Sunrise. They said the director of Gundam Battle Gunpla Warfare in Japan actually truly loves Age. It's his favorite show.
really.
Yeah.
That's
So they was explaining that that's why you see so much Gundam Age in the game.
that kind of makes sense because we did get we got the age or the tri-age.
Mhm.
We basically have every rendition of the age suits. I guess that's really fascinating because the community tends to think that if you put the suit as an event suit, then it means the developers don't like it. But I guess we should be
Oh.
really thinking of it the opposite way, that if they're putting it as an event suit, it means they really like the suit and they want to invest the time to actually create it in game.
Mhm.
Because
And
I
two
think,
of the there's two of the arena suits was Age, the Farzia and the Darkhound, both arena rewards.
yeah, and we have the Age 2, we have Double Bullet, we have the Titus, and I don't think we have the Spallo.
No, not yet.
Yeah, but we have the Glanza just this week, and then
Mhm.
we have all the H3s, and we have the FX and the Legless, and we have
And
Zetus. Uh,
Gafran.
yeah, the Goffran, not the Zetus. We have the Goffran. Yeah, So yeah, we actually have quite a bit of Gundam Age stuff. It's just not, Sokai level parts or like, event level part, whatever.
Yeah.
But that's good to know. That's actually really great to know. So you got one person in your corner. You got another person in your corner, I guess. All right, cool. So yeah, thank you so much for your time with us, Dennis. I think we have one last question that we really want to know your honest opinion, and that's what do you think of Gundam Age's message to the general audience, to the viewers who were watching in 2011, 2012, and for those of us who maybe like Walter are going to be diving into it nowadays? And what would you want people to get from the show?
In terms of like a message,
Yeah. Hmm.
I would want to say what I feel from Gundam Age is that conflict is bad, and it's kind of like what you see nowadays. Just not to get like political, but what you see on like social media, you see kids grow older, and they resonate whatever things that their parents or their grandparents said to them. They may not actually think that way, but it's just the way that they were raised. And you see that with Gundam Age. There's a lot of people that, like, a lot of the characters has like a certain feel, but it's because like their guardians or their brother, their superiors kind of put that into them. Like, hey, you need to do this. You need to be this type of person. Flit luckily did not really do that to Asunu, but Asunu was like kind of just dragged into the conflict, as Kyo was, because Flit spoilers, but Flit kind of like puppeteered him, like, hey, follow the H3.
He brought his that big old arcade Gundam versus Gundam machine over for Kyo to play with when he was like 3 years old. And I was like the most hilarious ever.
Oh my god, yeah. He's like just training him as a little baby. Well, because Asunu wasn't even there, so of course Flit had that role. But I mean, luckily at the end, everyone came to their senses. So I would just say the message I get is don't listen to whatever older people tell you. Don't take it as face value. Do your own research and see if something is as bad as it seems. That's probably what I take from it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Dennis. Really appreciate it. Well, I think that's pretty much the end of the video. Thank you so much to everyone who's been able to tune in. Please like and subscribe to the video if you would like to see more content, and visit our really good friend Dennis, TheKrowSama, for more content age-wise. This video has been brought to you by Gunzo, actually a nice little shop in downtown San Diego that has been supporting us. They have tons of really cool Japanese novelty items, as well as Gunpla and God Hands. Believe it or not, there's actually God Hands here in San Diego. Please check them out. They're a beautiful, wonderful store with really friendly and really fantastic staff to be able to help you out with any of your potential needs. Thank you, Walter, for doing all the behind the scenes recording and for all the managing. Thank you to Megumi, who I know is behind the scenes as well with all the video editing and all that kind of stuff. And thank you again very much, Dennis, for being on the show with us tonight.
And thank y'all for having me. Always love to come on and just talk about Gundam.
Yeah, sure thing. But yes, Walter, final words.
I was going to say, go ahead and plug your social media spots where people can see you.
Yes. Yeah. I'm on Twitter. I think my handle's like, what is it, Caw or something? I can send y'all a link. It's like, you just type in TheKrowSama. You should find me on Twitter. I'm actually really, really active on Twitter. I have not been like previous to 2021. So that's new. KrowSama on Instagram, and of course, YouTube is TheKrowSama. But yeah, you can find me those places.
All right, sounds good. I'm sure I'm gonna subscribe, and Walter's gonna subscribe. So at least you got two, two new people.
Yes.
All right, but yeah, thanks so much, Dennis. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Walter, for all your hard work, and we'll see everybody next time.